Now, this addresses the important WEF topic of 2026. That is a geoeconomic confrontation. As you all know, my name is Richard Abra, and today we are talking about what I believe is the defining global challenge of the next decade. That is, how do nations and companies survive and lead in the world where energy insecurity and regulatory fragmentation are reshaping the global economy. Now, this isn't just a policy issue, it is not just an energy issue, it is a global stability issue. And it is the reason this very topic, sits at the center of the World Economic Forum's agenda. Now, to the core problem, which is a fragmented energy world. Now, for the first time in modern history, the world is not converging around a single energy system. It is splintering. We are seeing competing energy blocks, conflicting regulatory regimes, divergent climate policies, national security driven restrictions, as well as fragmented supply chains. Let's not also forget localized compliant requirements. This fragmentation, therefore, is creating friction, uncertainty, and vulnerability across global markets. And here is the truth most leaders do not want to say out loud. Energy transition will not fail because of technology, it will fail because of regulatory misalignment. So, the the consequences, that is, if we do nothing, that is, if we continue on this very path, we will see slower global growth, higher energy cost, increased geopolitical tension, more supply chain shocks, as well as reduced investor confidence. And let's not forget widening inequality between energy secure and energy insecure nations. Now, this is not a theoretical risk because it is already happening. Now, with this, we move to my favorite part, that is the solution. We need a new model of energy resilience. To survive this decade, nations and companies must build energy resilient systems. That is, that is structures that can withstand regulatory shocks, geopolitical volatility, and supply chain disruption. And I call this approach the energy sovereignty framework, which is one of my frameworks. And this framework has three pillars. Pillar one, regulatory intelligence. That is, you cannot compete in a system you do not understand. Everybody knows this. And so leaders must develop the ability to predict policy cycles, interpret geopolitical signals, understand national priorities, anticipate regulatory shocks, because this is no longer optional. It is, quite frankly, it is a survival skill. Pillar two, infrastructure resilience. Now, a nation is only as strong as the systems that power it. This means diversifying energy sources, strengthening grid reliability, securing critical minerals, building regional redundancy, as well as investing in local capacity. We shouldn't forget that resilience is the new competitive advantage. And if you have been following me, you know I keep saying this. The pillar three of the framework is public private alignment. Now, the future belongs to countries where government and industry move in the same direction. This requires coherent regulatory frameworks, long term investment signals, national champions in strategic sectors, as well as shared risk mitigation strategies. And let's not forget policy stability as well. Now, when government and companies align, nations become unstoppable. We all know this. Now, this is what companies must do now. That is, if you are a founder, investor, or executive, here is your roadmap. You need to build compliance first business models, map your exposure to regulatory risk, align with national energy priorities, as well as strengthen supply chain resilience, and also invest in geopolitical intelligence. You also have to, or need, if I may, design systems that can survive shocks. I'll say that the companies that do this will become inevitable. The ones that do not will become obsolete. Now, this is what nations must do now. That is, if you are a policymaker or an institutional leader, prime minister or president, you must create a predictable regulatory environment, support energy resilient infrastructure, incentivize private sector alignment, and also reduce dependency on fragile supply chains. You shouldn't also forget to build national champions in strategic sectors because this is how nations secure their economic future. Now, my final message is this: we are entering a decade where energy security is economic security and regulatory intelligence. And regulatory intelligence, I beg your pardon, is leadership. So the world doesn't need more speed, it needs more resilience. It needs more alignment. It needs more system thinkers. This is why this conversation must happen at Davos. And I say vehemently, this is why I believe I must be in that very room because the next decade will not be shaped by those who innovate the fastest, but by those who understand the system deeply enough to build what actually lasts. And I am doing so by being the managing partner of Cruvon, which is a global energy, I beg your pardon, the Global Energy Sovereignty Fund or firm. I'll end by saying thank you so much for joining me. Um, and I always say, let's build a future with clarity, resilience, and strategic intent. For those of you who come across this video, policymakers, um, presidents, PAs, or whatever it is, do make sure to watch this video to the last end, and you can always drop your comment in because this is a conversation. I beg your pardon. It's a conversation that is worth talking about. Thank you so much for joining me on here, and thank you.